Hello and welcome to our presentation, and thank you so much for group administrators to allow us to come into the Proud to Be group. And just give a couple of seconds for people to catch up that we're live, and welcome. I'm Yoni and I am an adopter and an adopted adult. I was adopted at 18 months old by people who were my foster carers, and I was fortunate enough to stay with them for the rest of my childhood. I'm also an adopter of two very feisty, very big personality girls who are in their late teens with my civil partner. And I'd like to also introduce you to Keeley Craw, who is going to talk to us. Keeley, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi folks. My name's Keeley Craw. I am a biological mum of two very small children. To the other end of the scale to Yoni. My journey's still in its infancy. And I'm married, and I would identify as cishet, and I would respond to the pronouns she and he. Sorry, she and he. She's Salonzi. Yeah, just a bit about myself. I've had a background in education and in social work, but around 14 years ago, I just found myself at a bit of a crossroads, and I jumped on a plane to train to be a play therapist, quite naively, but it was actually one of the best things I ever did, and I've worked as a play therapist ever since. A lot of my work has been with children who have been identified at risk or are already placed in either kinship care or with foster or adoptive parents. A lot of my work has been around that, and also working with children of all ages, actually, in residential care. And I've done a lot of work in schools and nurseries too.
Okay, thank you. And my pronouns are she and her. And professionally, my experience is predominantly or almost exclusively working with children in care, foster carers and adopters, and I've been qualified about 30 years now. If people can, good evening. Thank you for commenting. If people can just accept StreamYard to show your name, then we can see who's commenting, so that would be perfect. Also, what would be great is if you would just put B for a biological parent, an F for a foster parent, or A for an adoptive parent, just so that we've got a little bit of a sense of where people are coming from. So the other thing that I sort of wanted to tell people about just before we get onto the meat and two veg of what we're doing today is I run a business called Diversity Adopt, and one of the things that I'm feeling really strongly about is that adopters and foster carers don't always get the information that they need to do the jobs that they do. And so what I wanted to do was to bring lots of opportunities to parents and adoptive and foster parents to expand their confidence and experience, and also to learn from things that I've, with hindsight, felt that I could have done better. So really glad that you're all joining us, and just let us know in the comments that you're here. Okay. Anything else you want to say, Keeley, before?
I don't think so. I think I've got plenty to say in the presentation, so I'll save it for
okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to add Keeley's presentation to the stream. We've had one or two technical hitches, so really really pleased to see it. So thank you, Keeley. I'll leave it with you.
Welcome. Okay, can I move that straight to, here we go. So we had our we welcome there, and here we go for the presentation. So, okay, so thanks so much everybody for giving up your time to kind of listen into this course. I really hope it's going to be helpful for you to give you a better sense of what play is about, but in particular how play can really help in terms of developing your relationship with your children. Like I say, I've been a play therapist for about 14 years, and I'm a mum myself, so I've got some lived experience as a mum and quite a lot of experience on just how powerful play can be when I've used it in a therapeutic context, and that can also be translated into how you can use play to really strengthen your own relationships with your children. So just to start by looking at the facets of play, and I often think of play that it's like a diamond, so it has many facets, many faces, and it serves many purposes. And I think there's something really interesting, that idea that it serves a purpose because it shows that it's doing something, it affects change. And we often just think of play as just something that children do, but actually when we're playful and creative ourselves, actually that can really facilitate our own learning or experiences, our understanding of ourselves. Or it might help us just to kind of think outside of the box when we've got a problem. So play is really useful for many things. And when we think of it in terms of a child, really those play experiences actually start in utero. And for babies in utero who are lucky enough to have parents who will interact with them, you could start that playful interaction by just tapping on the birthing mum's tummy, and the baby will kind of kick and respond back. They may start, if you're singing certain songs, if you sing it, that they get familiar with it, they'll respond when they hear that song again when they're of a certain age that they can hear. So play is really hardwired into us. And then when the baby's born, those very early like facial expressions, what they call the parenties, those silly voices we make and the funny faces, that's that kind of start to play. And as a child goes on, that encourages physical development. So you think about how we're playing with children to encourage them to roll over or to sit up or to learn how to grasp things, and that just continues on and on. It can help with the acquisition of language. It hones our social skills. When you think a little bit later on, when children start to interact with other children and how they have to kind of find their way, how they kind of manage not to just kind of get along and learn that not everything is about them. And it also shapes our emotional development too. So we learn an awful lot through play. And I put that it's fun, but and for most people it is fun. For you as parents, maybe you've had like difficult experiences around play. So actually, maybe it feels a bit kind of embarrassing to play or to kind of maybe feel a bit exposing. And the same goes for some children. So for parents out there who've got children who are being fostered or adopted, their early lives have been punctuated by some very difficult experiences. So they may not have had the opportunity to play, or that kind of sense of emotional exposure in play might feel quite difficult for them. But it doesn't mean that with time and patience that they can't overcome those hurdles. And hopefully eventually for them it will be fun. So what Yoni and I have done, we've come together with our kind of expertise in our different areas, and we've been thinking about relationship-based play. That's a term we've coined ourselves, but it's about focusing on those elements of play that really help to build relationship. And when we can do that, it gives us a chance to develop bonds with our children, and it gives them a chance to rehearse events, and it also gives them a sense that they're being listened to and they're feeling heard, and a chance to gain mastery of a situation. So quite a lot of play, especially when children are doing stuff that's like around social play, but also in relationship play, it's thinking about mastery of a situation, and that's not in terms of how can I dominate this play or how can I become dominant. It's not mastery in that sense. It's that kind of trying things out, rehearsing things, getting a better understanding of themselves or the situation that they're thinking about in play. So it can be really useful for that, kind of helping them to gain a sense of where they kind of stand in the world. And again, some children, that might be quite a distorted kind of perception of where they kind of stand. They may have some very kind of low viewpoints and perceptions of themselves. So when we kind of work in relationship-based play, it's also about kind of developing the child's confidence as well, and to have a better kind of perception of themselves, and to feel that they kind of develop and sustain relationship, and they can do that alongside you as a parent in the first instance through this play. So the focus of relationship-based play, really, it draws from principles of play therapy. So that's really the idea of using play as a therapeutic tool. So as a play therapist, I would have drawn on lots of different materials, art materials, sand, toys, puppet, music, just using myself playfully, just going along with what the children want to play. Filial therapy, which is a technique where a parent is taught certain play skills and how to free play with a child, and then they go and have play sessions with the children, and then that's kind of reviewed, and they kind of develop the skills. And free play, which is kind of moves on to the next point, where the child is at the center of the play, so they kind of get to decide what happens and what you do as well as what they're going to do. So they're leading the play, which I feel quite different. I think often as adults, we just like to kind of get in there and say, right, let's play this and let's do that. Yeah. And so, but this is actually about kind of handing that time over to the children, so they can lead the play. And kind of in doing that, it gives the parent and the child an opportunity to learn about each other through the play. So we'll kind of delve into that a little bit more. I will just say as we go on, we'll also make a time for questions at the end. So if you've got any burning questions, just pop them in the comment box. So the main principles of relationship play are about, as I say, letting the child lead the play. Well, I've got another slide on that to kind of go into that in more depth. But it's also about being present. So I think actually, again, as adults, that's quite a challenge for us these days with our children to actually be present. And by that, I mean, it's everything. You may be making a play session, so you're going to just dedicate some time. So it's mobiles off and out the room. Nothing else is going to disturb you. You're just going to focus just for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on the age and the ability of your child to kind of keep focus like that. Just to be completely present and just kind of give all your attention to your child for that time. And then listening, that is like another really kind of central part of this. And I know that might sound a bit daft, well, I listen all the time, but this is a different, really kind of listening. You're really engaged in the listening, so it's not just listening to kind of what's being said verbally. It's kind of listening, to what's not being said, to the body language that the children are kind of displaying, and really looking and listening in that way. And then it's to show the children that you have heard them. So you're reflecting that again through your own body language or through your own comment and your own responses and play. Okay. So why let a child lead? So, I think part of us thinks, oh my gosh, it'd be absolute pandemonium if I let them lead, and I'll open a can of worms, or it'll be a complete riot, and I'll have paint up the walls and stuff. You can, I'm going to say, although you're letting them lead, you do put, some boundaries in there to kind of contain the experience, and also to keep it safe. But I think there's also something in Western parenting particularly where it's felt like the adult is like the figure of authority, and it should be kind of done how the adult wants things to be done. And we don't often see parenting as a cooperative relationship that we can kind of work together. I mean, there's definitely times when you need to kind of hold the reins, certainly when it comes to issues of safety. And there's other times actually where your children do want your guidance, and they do want you to kind of manage a situation, or when they're upset, they do want you to kind of take control in those moments. There's lots of other times actually in parenting where we can actually work alongside each other. And again, kind of thinking about a lot of children who have been in foster or adoptive foster and adoptive placements now, their experiences prior to coming to you, they've probably had very chaotic or neglectful or lots of other very difficult kind of experiences of parenting. They've maybe not been allowed to be a child and do those playful things, or they've lived in very kind of authoritative or scary, frightening kind of situations. When you can kind of come to that, and work in cooperation with a child, that can mean an awful lot to them in terms of developing a relationship. And using play is like a great way to establish some of that style of relationship. So when you let a child lead the play, it gives you an insight into their world. So instead of us take over and say, right, come on, we're playing shops, and I'm going to be the shopkeeper, and you come in and come and choose some of this, these fruit and vegetables that I'm selling. Let the children choose, what they want to play. And I'm going to say, even kind of when I'm talking about letting them lead, you do something and you're not sure how to respond next. So, you can just, I often just used to whisper it, what shall I be doing next, or what shall I say now? And I know that kind of feels like it takes the fluidity and the flow out of the play. Actually, kind of don't seem to mind that kind of disruption, because they still feel that kind of sense of kind of like being in charge of the play, and the play kind of going the way they want it to go. But when we do that, it gives a real insight into their world, just to see kind of what they're thinking about. Because again, as adults, we might have our own interpretations on how a child maybe experiences school, for example, or why they're so frightened to go to bed at night or something. And letting them kind of lead. Play is really a natural form of communication for children. And I've had children who think they can be quite clever. And the thing, I can't see what they're trying to say in the play. And obviously, I've got a bit of an upper hand there. I've been trained to kind of read play like a language, but they can't help but kind of show you. So, and it allows this. So when you've got that kind of insight, really, it allows you to see what their needs are, and because quite a lot of emotional content can often come out as the children are more relaxed, and the play really creates a space between you that kind of provides a safety. So if you were like sitting a child down and saying, what is it about going to bed that you don't like? Your child might not have the vocabulary or have that kind of emotional understanding yet of what it is, or they just can't put it into words. It's just a feeling. But when they can play that, they can show you, and it also provides quite a safe space. It's like a buffer, so it can be really helpful. So it's giving you an insight, and you can see what the needs are without kind of having to sit them down and say, what is it? Tell me. Quite often with children, words can get in the way. And with that, then it enables them to feel understood. So when you can see, and when you can kind of show back through your words, what you've noticed, and you're responding in play, it enables them to feel understood. So, that's really powerful for children. And what I've noticed in therapy is actually the most powerful thing I've ever done for a child is listen to them. Of all the stuff, of all the magic of therapy and play, the bit that actually seems to be most affecting or effective is the fact that I listened and they felt heard. And obviously for a lot of the children I've worked with, that has been like an experience that they've not often had within their parental relationships or other relationships. And that's what often is really powerful and kind of brings a lot of the change. When the children lead, it allows them to test boundaries and explore possibilities. So they can rehearse a lot through play without having to do it for real, and maybe find out that whatever they thought wasn't that good an idea.
Right.
So it's a safe place to test things, to explore possibilities. What would it be like if, this character said this, or this character said that? And that's also why it's really important that when you're leading the play, that you allow the children to kind of direct what you say and do. Because again, we might start putting our own stuff on there or our own interpretations on it, and actually that's not what the child wanted us to do, not how wanted us to respond. So let them do that. As say if you're doing like role play or you're drawing something, what is it? What should I draw next? Or if you're drawing a face, what kind of a face does this person have? They're sad, angry, or something. If you're playing a game, what am I going to say next? So they're pushing and testing things, and they might come back to the same theme of play or the same kind of art, or in my case when I did Sandy, like go back to the same story quite a few times because they're telling the story or thinking, right, this week I'll try it, but this will happen. So they're testing those boundaries and possibilities. And it also allows them to understand their impact on another. So again, that kind of testing of relationship and sometimes kind of seeing your kind of response. It's a safe place that you can create in play that allows them to kind of understand, how certain words or actions might affect another person. So, and that really, I think, also helps to really kind of ground your relationship together as well, to kind of develop those kind of understandings of each other. So you're helping to develop the social skills as well as helping to kind of build your relationship together too.
Right. Got a question, but we'll deal with it at the end. Thank you.
I might cover it. So, how to listen. So I said, this is really an active listening that we're trying to do when we're playing with our children. So part of that is good eye contact. So we're showing that we're actually engaged. We're not looking at the floor, looking bored. I'm sure we've all experienced it ourselves as adults when we're trying to talk to somebody and they don't give us good eye contact, how frustrating that can be. Is this person actually listening to what I say? Or am I totally boring them? Or, so to give good eye contact is really important to show that you're engaged, but also so you can look at their body language as well. So you've been really attentive to that. And then to find the key points in what is being said. So, that might be just within like a particular sentence of what they're saying, or you might be kind of looking like more overarching, like in that play session, what we're trying to be said, what kind of themes were kind of coming up in that play. And if they were like, for example, using toy figures, what are the figures saying? Listen into things like that. There's a lot of clues in there as well. And make sounds and gestures to show your interest and reflect on the tone of the conversation. So you don't have to be deadpan with it. Show your interest. Something feels sad. Reflect that it's how we would probably all be, if we were with a baby when they're excited and stuff. We show happy faces and reflect that excitement. And when they're sad and upset, we calm down and everything kind of goes quiet and our voice is quieter and gives a sympathetic tone. So kind of put that in as well. And I think this is the most important one probably, because it's something probably as adults I think children can do it too, to be honest, but we fall into this trap so many times. We listen without planning what you want to say. So quite often listening and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to say that, or I'm going to do this, but actually just listen and then wait till the end, and just, it's okay to take a moment to digest that, and then say something. You'll find if you're listening and you just keep listening, that you think, oh, I might comment on that, and then they say a bit more like, oh no, that's not relevant actually. So if you just keep yourself open all the time and wait till they've finished what they've got to say, then reflect on that and kind of make a response, that the child will kind of feel much more heard, and not just think you're just thinking, you kind of putting your own take on things because you're actually just pointing out something that they said like a minute earlier. Kind of, so just listening without kind of thinking about what you want to say next. It's really important. And then what to say. So there's a great play therapist based in Texas called Gary Landreth, and he does a lot of work in play therapy, and he does a lot of like his own. He's branded it as his own, but really it's filial therapy, a style of filial therapy. And he has lots of what he calls rules of thumb. But one of them is, if you can't say it in 10 words or less, don't say it. So actually, if you actually do this yourself and think about certain sentences, actually 10 words is quite a lot. So it feels a bit like, oh gosh, that's not much. Actually, you can say quite a lot in 10 words or less. But I think the point of that is just to kind of keep those kind of responses simple and brief. It's really important. It stops it keeps the play kind of going. It stops you kind of like getting into like a bit of a lecture or like a big spiel about something, to keep it concise. And also I think it just helps you to kind of, I guess it helps you to kind of shape what you want to say in a child appropriate way. So because often you need to keep it simpler for children anyway. So just to keeping it to that 10 words or less, it would be really useful, as he would call it, rule of thumb. And then when we're thinking about what to say, it's, when you're thinking about that in a child-led way, you would be maybe verbally tracking. So you would maybe say things like, you made a really tall tower there. So, you're showing that you're seeing what they do. You're maybe going to put some like real interest in the tone of your voice. But you're tracking that, you're showing that you're watching and that they're seeing. It might be that there's a point there where you can reflect on their feelings. So you like the way that looks. So you might be noticing their body language, that they've got a big smile on the face, or they look really proud when they've done something, or they may actually just verbally say, that's brilliant. And you can say, you like the way that looks. I can see that. And acknowledge their efforts. So in child-led play, and maybe just try and just give a really very quick case study. We in play therapy, we would just allow the child just to keep going. We wouldn't intervene unless they asked for our help. And an example of that is, I worked with a boy and he was about 7 years old, and he was in kinship care. And when you spoke to him, when he first started sessions, you were never really quite sure if he understood you or not. There was not much kind of, it was quite flat. There wasn't much kind of going on behind his eyes that kind of indicated that, you maybe had an understanding of what was going on around him or what you'd said. And we got into so many sessions, he didn't quite know what to do. But one day he decided he was going to make a picture, but to do that he had to cut a piece of paper off a big roll, and I had like child size scissors, but it took him 20 minutes, and Yeah, you know, for an adult, that is absolutely really hard. You've got to sit on your hands just to kind of not kind of intervene there. But as he kind of did that, I didn't just sit there and wait for him. You know, I was kind of really reflecting on, gosh, you're trying really hard here. Oh, look, I can see you're trying another way now. You know, and in the end, God bless him, he did manage to cut off a piece of paper. It was only a small bit, but he did it. And he was, I cannot tell you how delighted he was that he'd actually managed to do that. And then he drew a picture on it too. And it was actually for that child a really pivotal point in his therapy, because he realized that he was able to do things. You know, and I'd kind of reflecting with him, you tried so hard, you know, but you found a way to do that, and he was so pleased with himself. It was a really moving moment actually for me too. You know, and after that, you know, he started coming into the play therapy, you know, as a different child. He could see the confidence, and in fact, one point he was like very confident. You know, he was just brimming with it. Because after that, he just tried different things all the time. And school and his grandparents noticed how much more confident he became. So acknowledging those efforts and allowing children to lead and to kind of struggle a little bit sometimes, you know, is quite all right, and can be quite powerful, as long as they feel supported within that moment. And like I've said before, follow their lead. So asking, what should we do next? What shall I say? So you might find yourself saying in a role play situation. And I know for adults that kind of puts the fear in us often when we hear the words role play.
Certainly does me.
Particularly a training session, if someone says role play, everyone often recoils. You know, we might feel the same too. You know, even in front of our own children. Oh gosh, you know, it can feel quite exposing. But you know, I'm going to say just kind of, you know, go with it. You know, and you might just be learning and growing and developing yourself, you know, alongside your children as you do this. And there's certainly times when I've thought, gosh, I hope someone doesn't walk into the room now dressed up as a dragon with a feather boa and a bow sword in my hand. You know, but just follow their lead, follow what they want to do. And I can't tell you just how powerful an experience that is for children, and how much that can actually strengthen them as individuals. And like I say, you know, strengthen you too. You can get something out of this. There's growth in this experience for you too, not just as a parent, you know, but as an individual. And you know, there's so much to kind of take from this experience, you know, and you know, it really kind of does build you know, that kind of sense of trust and communication, you know, between you. It really develops your relationship and your attachments with each other. And I would say that is regardless of whether you're a biological foster or adoptive parent, you know, always you know, room for a bit more kind of strengthening of a relationship. You know, whatever your parenting context is, there's always room to kind of add a bit more to that relationship. So my last point really is just enjoy play and don't make it a chore. So, you know, Yoni and I have developed an 8-module course, which tonight's really been a whistle stop tour, which kind of looks much more into relationship-based play, and how you can, you know, set up your own play sessions with your own child or children. Taking a lot of these principles, and in the course we'd also talk about other things like how to keep the play safe for you and for your child. But you know, whatever it is, don't make it feel like a chore. So it's not like, right, come on, you know, let's go and play, you know. And because I don't want to just sit, you know, they've got something else they want to do, you know. Don't feel like, you know, if they're not ready for it, that's fine. You know, try and make some space for it. But if they're not ready for it at that time, fine. Don't make it feel like a chore, because then actually it kind of defeats that whole point really of it being child-led. You know, and obviously, you know, you'll have your own restrictions. So you can't like drop tools when you're just in the middle of making tea. You know, but you know, whether you just enjoy it, you know, because there's a lot to take out of this.
Okay.
So you need
That's
questions.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. Yeah, there was, and Katie from Proud to Be Parents has joined us, which is great, and welcoming all the other parents. Somebody's asked, sorry, I can't see what your name is, but thank you for putting down the question. Does this mean, does that mean when my 2-year-old, oh, sorry, there was another one. What top tips would you give for relationship-based play with babies? We have a 5-month-old. Thank you.
Okay. So I think, you know, when you're thinking about babies, you know, there's so much that you add into that relationship, and sometimes it doesn't feel like play in like that usual form. But anything you're doing that makes a connection with the baby, so that might be, you know, like I said before, doing the silly voices, you know, just having like time, like if you've got like a little play mat, time on the play mats, you know, and you'll see, you know, by 5 months old, you know, if they're on a play mat and they've got like, you know, the arch with the toys dangling down over them, and maybe they're looking to a particular toy. Well, that's them saying, I'm interested in this toy. So maybe then you can kind of focus on that. And sometimes at that age, they're still struggling to kind of reach up for it, you know, so you might be able to bring it down or kind of move it. So you're interacting that way, or they might be looking around, you know, on the floor at different things, you know, even things that aren't toys, because at that age they just can't differentiate between what's a play object and what's a kitchen utensil. You know, so yeah, but it's like when looking at that, you know, and listening, they do make little sounds. You know, my youngest child, you know, she wasn't a baby that long ago. You know, so it feels quite fresh. You know, just looking at those things, and, you know, listening to the little noises and watching, you know, their facial expressions and their body language. Where's their body going and moving to? Where are their eyes going? You know, when do they show kind of delight and when do they start? You know, sometimes you need to give younger children like a bit of a break as well, so they might just turn away for a moment and just, you know, because it's so stimulating for them at that age too. You know, it's just kind of taking it, you know, quite a gentle pace. You know, when it gets a bit too much and exciting, they might just kind of look away for a moment, just to, just like take a deep breath. And you know that they're learning so much there. It's quite can be quite overwhelming for them. You know, and you know, there's so many songs and stuff you can sing that have actions with them. So, you know, you're bouncing them on your knee or lifting them up high, and there's all those different ways. And again, they will tell you if they don't like the song or the actions. You know, it's just really tuning in. But a 5-month-old, or even younger, to be honest, you know, they're still good at telling you what they like and don't like, and what they'd like to explore and what they're not interested in at that moment in time.
Yeah, I my partner's got grandchildren, and I know when they were little, you could really see how much they were understanding, even though they were pre-verbal. And I know some people use sort of sign language or little hand gestures and things to link to particular things. And one of her grandchildren, she's 10 months old, I think, and when she wants her daddy to come and give her attention, she's like that. and she can't speak, but you know exactly what she wants, and she's very clear.
Baby sign is, I've done it with both of my children, and it is excellent for that, and it just allows them just a way to communicate before they actually have the physical ability to speak, and it takes a lot of frustration out. But it's a beautiful way that, you know how they kind of, how they sometimes they realize that the power of the sign does something, and then sometimes they can kind of like make their own sign as well.
Wow.
My daddy or something, you know. But you, like you say, like that gesture, come on now, Dad, you know, I'm interested in you.
Oh, that's lovely. Another question. Does that mean when my 2-year-old takes my hand to sit on the floor, it's his way of leading me in play?
I would definitely suspect so. Yeah. You know, at 2, some children are quite chatty by then, but other children are still, you don't have many words yet, and so they do use action a lot and grabbing your hands and pointing. I would say yes if he or she was grabbing your hands to take you across. That is in a way them starting to want to try and engage and play with you. Again, when the children are smaller, just present a few options of toys. I mean, I know they might have a raft, especially after Christmas. You know, and just put a couple of toys out at a time and let them choose and kind of lead the play that way. You know, and you will find a way even if they're not verbal. In fact, Yoni and I did a live session a while ago, which I think Yoni would still be on the Ambitious Adopted page and maybe the LGBT parent page. Just when I just kind of reflected on quite a lot of experience I've had of working with children. They were older, but for various reasons they weren't verbal in play therapy sessions. But they actually still spoke volumes without actually moving the lips. So the same applies with 2-year-olds too. If you can tune into that, they'll definitely still be able to lead and play it and get a lot from it.
Okay. One of the things I talk about quite a lot when we're talking about relationship-based play is that it's such a relatively short amount of time that you can invest in the one-to-one time with your child. And I wonder whether sometimes people think I'm just exaggerating, but it can be, those tiny little moments can be really transformational, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Just little and often, can work wonders. It really can. And I just think, we've all got busy lives, even in lockdown. We might not have as many things to do, but as a parent, my day still is as full and goes as fast as in those glorious pre-lockdown days. And so just carving out just 20, 30 minutes a couple of times a week, to kind of give this really kind of devoted playtime, make a big difference. And I think, it gives a really strong message out to the children that you're really interested in this, and play is something that's of value to you too, because so often actually in our society it's like, who play and that's so babyish and immature, and but actually it's wonderful and it's something we should all just keep doing, as we kind of like evolve into adults. And we do it in many ways. We go to yoga classes or play tennis, or even when you're going out and having a giggle with your friends over a coffee or a beer or something, there's playful elements in there. If you enjoy like engaging with arts and crafts and stuff, you're being playful. Even if that's an activity you're doing on your own, you're still being playful and creative. So anytime you can give to your children that shows the value of play and kind of shows that you really see a value in them, it's a very powerful message to give them.
Brilliant. I'm just wondering if anyone else has got any questions. Just a couple of seconds. I suppose I'm just mindful, sort of looking back, and obviously my kids are older now, but it's that investment pays dividends as the child gets older, doesn't it? If you're consistent with it and if you build it in as a family habit, because certainly I, with reflection, think I could have benefited from much more sort of one-to-one play rather than going to play centres and parks, and I'd be sitting in one place and they'd be playing somewhere else, and it wasn't really engaging time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's something in that as parents, we need a bit of a break.
True.
So it's nice to just pop with some other kids and like have a chat with like some of the other parents. And it's actually something I've been reflecting on myself recently, because I was just feeling, so sad for my own children and other children, that all those exciting things that they used to do, like groups and swimming and storytelling groups, and it had just kind of gone. And I just thought, especially for my daughter, she's too young to remember what I did with a kind of pre-lockdown, but I've been watching them recently, and they're small, right? But they just live in the moment, and so they're quite happy just to run around the park with you, or today we've been to the shops, and my daughter's really into brushing the floors right now, but she was my like the massive brush, and she was like clanging everything, so I thought I'll get her a wee brush, and she's really enjoying that. But then actually my son took it, and he was starting to pretend to tarmac a road, because he just loves vehicles and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought, gosh, like, and they got so much out of it, and there is things that they do miss, but actually, just kind of giving that time and just being playful with them, they're still getting a lot out of that, and they're getting a lot of pleasure and enjoyment out of it. And in some ways, maybe one thing I'd take from this lockdown is that it has given us time to kind of maybe just focus down and kind of use ourselves more as a resource for play, because we haven't got all those storytelling groups. I don't know if you have it, but we have Book Bog up here. And it was like book bog story sessions and things like that. We haven't got that to kind of go to. There's some online stuff, but really we're having to kind of tap into our own resources more to entertain our children. So we don't, although they're having more screen time, we don't want them to be on there permanently. So we are kind of thinking about what can we do with them. And, I think in some ways that might make the children kind of more resilient in a way, and it gives us an opportunity to develop our relationships with our children. My son's due to go to start school in 6 months' time, and I thought, what, even though it's a bit of a bind sometimes, this lockdown, I'm just going to take it as an opportunity just to kind of soak this up, actually, and just enjoy these days I can kind of have without, before he goes to school, and I only see him for a bit in the morning and a bit in the evening, and then my weekends will be sacred time with them. So I'm just going to use it actually just to kind of soak it up and just enjoy all these moments with them that I've got their undivided attention. So
Absolutely, and I'll attest to the fact that it goes like that that time. I'm mindful of the time, and I suppose what we wanted to just let people know is, if you've enjoyed the conversations that we've had, and I'm certainly enjoyed what we've been talking about, that we're doing a live challenge to give people some really practical ideas about play, and hopefully lots of fun as well. And that's open not just to adopters and foster carers in this group. We welcome birth families as well. Do you want to say a little bit about what the plans are? It starts on the 2nd of February, 2nd and the 4th of February.
Yeah, so the play challenge is just we're kind of setting really is over the course of a week, that you kind of dedicate 3 play sessions with your children. And what we've done is we've picked 3 types of play. So there's lots of different kinds of play, so active play, imaginative play, using arts and crafts, things like that. So we've picked out 3 types of play. So each session is different, and we've given you some ideas on what you might like to do within that theme, but everyone's open and welcome just to kind of choose their own activity within that theme as well. And to kind of undertake that within the course of a week. And then at the end of each of those play sessions as an adult, for you to kind of go back and reflect and think, what worked well in this session? What did I enjoy about that? What did my child enjoy about that? What would I do differently if I did an activity like this? again next time. So hopefully by the end of that, obviously you've had like 3 opportunities to play with your children, which is great for both of you. But also I think it just maybe kind of just gives you a chance to kind of really reflect on play and where you feel your strengths are and where you'd like to be stronger, or areas that maybe you'd like to help your children develop in and play as well. So it's just like it's like a toe dip really, and a bit of a reflective exercise into play.
Okay, and it's totally free, and if you are interested, I'm just going to put the it's going to be held within our Facebook group, which is specifically for LGBT adopters, foster carers, and also people who are interested in joining the live and therapeutic parenting. So it'd be great. We'll put a link in this as well in this post once it's done. Just a couple of more comments. Loved what I managed to catch. Missed the first bit. Well, hopefully you can watch it because it will be in the group. And ideas for play would be fab. So it'd be great to see you in that group. And if you are interested, come into the group. Come and meet with us. We're really approachable. Thank you so much. This has been incredibly helpful. Thank you, Debbie. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, and we're really excited about the work that we're doing. Proud to be parents, absolutely fascinating. I think our proud to be parents will definitely get a lot out of this session. For those watching it later, please let us know any questions and thoughts on the session. Yeah, and we're happy. I'm a member of the group. Keeley's in the group, so if you've got questions later on, if you're watching on the replay, then by all means post them and we'll try and answer as many as we can. And what we're also doing is like Keeley said, is a much longer course, which if you like, meeting with us, talking about these things, we'll talk to you, give you a bit more detail about that at the end of the live challenge. So we've been quite a long time. Thank you so much for keeping with us and engaging. It's been really nice to sort of meet you, and thank you. And I'll say goodbye and let Keeley say goodbye.
Yeah, thanks so much, folks. I'll just echo Yoni's sentiments and say it just, honestly, it's so exciting just to have the opportunity just to come and meet parents and just talk about one of my favourite subjects, which is play. And it's lovely to be able to kind of share that with you. And I'm glad that you found some useful points here. Hopefully, some wee pearls to take away with you.
So thank you. Hope to see you at the live challenge on the 2nd.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.